Hey guys, this is Mark. Database relationships. That's one of the few things that make your application come alive. It is the fabric that ties everything together in your data model. We live in a world where all the objects and entities surrounding us in any given application domain are deeply connected with each other. And us humans, on a day to day basis, we don't really give a second thought of how objects are connected with each other. You see, let's say if we take a look at a car, and we don't really think that, a car consists of a gazillion number of parts, and every single part has a manufacturer, and that manufacturer has a location, and that manufacturer works with various shipping companies, and every single shipping company has a bunch of routes. uh, it just comes naturally to us. Of course, if we think about it, it becomes rather obvious, or sometimes not so obvious. But just to live our lives, we don't really think about it. When the user navigates your application, they don't really think or care that a order consists of order items, and the customer record is associated with the location and so on. But for us developers, it is very, very important to recognize all those relationships between entities in any given application domain and capture those relations in the data model. And that's where database relationships come into play. Being able to recognize a relationship or all relationships in the application domain is crucial. And sometimes it is obvious, sometimes it is not so obvious. Sometimes there are consequences to how you define a relationship. And those consequences could result in either performance or in the amount of logic that you need to put in your application to perform various functions, such as creating records, updating, retrieving, deleting. Relationships have impact on pretty much everything that would be running inside of your application. What makes it even more complex is that when you recognize a relationship, you need to make sure that it is classified accordingly. And there are different types of relationships that exist in databases. And they are one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-many. And since there are only three, it would be fairly easy to place a relationship between various entities and understand how it should be expressed in the data model. Sometimes it is not that easy, and I will definitely be going over those use cases. And in addition to that, a relationship has a direction, like who owns the relationship, which side of the two tables you define it. And there are also the decisions to be made when you decide how to organize your relationships. If we take a look at the one-to-one relationships, they are very straightforward, and those can be described with a has a structure. So, for instance, person has a passport, country has a capital, and order has a customer. So those are very easy to understand. To As a test to make sure that it is indeed a one-to-one relationship, it must be true on both sides. Like a person has a passport, and every passport has a specific person that it is issued for. Same way for country capital. You can name a capital, and there will be one country that it is a capital of. And order customer is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so it is definitely true where you have an order for a specific customer, but the other way around, it is actually different because a single customer may have multiple orders. So this one could become rather tricky, especially when it comes to defining those relationships in a database. We'll definitely be going over that. One-to-many relationships are also fairly easy to understand. For instance, every person has parents. So that's one person, multiple parents. A country has multiple cities. Of course, there could be some exceptions to this where, for instance, Vatican is a country and the city of Vatican is the city. So there are some exceptions, but as a general rule, one country has multiple cities. Customer, multiple orders. Okay, so here we talked about that in the previous slide, but from the customer perspective, it is a one-to-many relationship. Then whenever you test one-to-many, it really is just as that. One entity may have multiple other related entities, and that is one-to-many. Many-to-many relationship is probably the most complex one, especially from the perspective of not only defining how it should work, but the logic that is required to handle those relationships. And especially once you start building queries for many-to-many relationships, that could get rather complex. And by the way, all three different types that I mentioned, one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many, are supported in Backendless. And we'll be reviewing all of them in great detail, including the APIs that you have learned a lot about. Every single API that I mentioned, that I have described so far, has a variation that supports relationships. So there will be a new dimension to many of those APIs that you will discover that will provide support for relationships. But as far as many-to-many relationships, some great examples are students and courses. A single student could be enrolled in multiple courses, and a single course could have multiple students. Actors and movies. A single actor could be in multiple movies, and a single movie could have multiple actors. And same thing goes for doctors and patients. This video is meant to be an introductory one. I will not go into a whole lot of details. I just wanted to kind of introduce the concept of relationships. And as we proceed, you will learn about creating those relationships, defining them in a database, decision-making process, understanding where a relationship should be defined, and of course, everything that you would need to know about using APIs to work with relationships and structuring queries accordingly, because being able to retrieve data that is related, where different entities are related to each other, it's a very important subject. And from the Backendless database perspective, there is a very rich support for working with relationships. So one other thing that I wanted to mention, just as a quick demo of seeing relationships in action, the sample database that you have installed and the one that we've been working so far already has a couple of relationships. So what I will do is I will switch to Backendless Console just to quickly demonstrate where those relationships are, just so you can get a little glimpse into what the whole thing is about. So here, this is the schema that we have. There are 4 tables. This one was created in one of the lectures, but customer, order, product, and review. And if we take a look at the order table, specifically in the data browser screen, you will see a column called customer, and there is another column called product. In the description where we put the data type of the column, it says relation to customer. So here we can see that the order table has a one-to-one relationship, and you can see it is one-to-one because there's this one red dash. If it were one-to-many, there would be 3 of them to indicate that this is one-to-many. In this schema, there are no one-to-many relationships. We will be creating those. But here we can see that every order has one customer that it's related with. Also, every single order has one product that it is related with. This is a rather primitive way to define this. Typically, an order will have multiple order items, and every single order item will have a reference to product. But this is a simplification. So here we have an order related to one customer and an order related to one product. And these links can be used for navigation purposes. So when you're looking at a specific order right here, when you click on that link, you'll be navigating to that specific customer that order that we navigated from is related to. And if you move the mouse over here, it will give you a little preview of what that order is, if you just need to kind of refresh the context. And then you'll be looking at the customer here. If there were some additional relations in the customer record, you can continue navigating this, and then the breadcrumbs right here will be building up to give you the full navigational path. Same thing goes for navigating from order to product, and because it works exactly the same way. From the schema perspective, if we select order and then go to schema, you'll see in the table editor that there is a column name called customer that is defined as data type data relation. And likewise, product is also data relation to product. One-to-one designates that this is a one-to-one relation. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video, but as you will continue through other videos that are coming after this one, you will be learning more and more about relationships, the APIs that come with them, and everything else that you would need to know. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found this useful. And as always, happy coding.